Unit 6, Reading 1, Spotting Communication Problems. At this lesson, we are going to speak about the problems of people while communicating with others. I know that most of the people have got problems with communication. They have got some poor habits that can result in some problems. At this lesson, we will try to understand what are your poor habits, what problems they can result in, and what can we do to overcome these poor habits, to stop having those poor habits, and to become a good communicator. So first of all, let's look at poor habits that people have and the problems that they finally get. The first one, speaking too fast. If you speak too fast, you can confuse other people. So speaking too fast confuses other people. Playing with pens while talking. Yes, some people, they play with different things while talking, and it can annoy other people. So playing with pens while talking annoys other people. Using unfamiliar words. Just imagine that you are talking about something that the other person does not understand because you are using some words or phrases or sentence or ideas that that person does not know. And in this way, you can make other people think what you are saying is unimportant. If that person does not understand you, he can think that what you are saying is unimportant. And the fourth one, interrupting the other person. If you interrupt the other person, you can make that person feel unimportant. You want to dominate, you want to tell what you think is right. But we need to also listen to the other person's opinion. So interrupting the other person makes other people feel unimportant. Now let's read the text itself and try to find out what are the problems and how we can overcome them. Are you sometimes slow to communicate with others at work? You may be a communications laggard, a term used to describe professionals who perform well in most work areas but lag behind in their communication skills. If that sounds like you are not alone. In fact, a report in the Wall Street Journal noted that the single biggest reason people fail to advance in their careers is lack of good communication skills. So, as we understood from this paragraph, a person can be very knowledgeable, he can be professional, he can be expert in the sphere where he works, but at the same time, he can have poor communication skills. And that is the reason why he cannot be promoted, why he cannot be advanced, why he cannot advance in his career. There are several signs you can use to determine whether you or others are blocking the communication process. Begin by asking yourself some questions about the way you communicate. Do you use ambiguous body language? Remember, when you communicate, it's not just the words that convey a message. It's what media experts call the composite you. This composite takes into account all elements of your body. For example, if you stand with your back half turned to someone, you constantly look away. If your head is lowered, or if you look like you are about to walk away, your body language is sending a signal that you are not interested in having a conversation. So, first of all, do you have an ambiguous body language? It means that you have a body language, your motions, your gestures, or your body movements that show that you are not interested in the person who you are listening to. Imagine that you are constantly look away, you have lowered your head, or you are not looking into the eyes of that person, or you are halfway you want to leave that room. Of course, all these signs, the signs of body language show that you are not a good communicator. Do you maintain silent moments? The next time you have a conversation with a coworker, make a mental note of how many times you are silent. Periodic silences let people ask questions. Acknowledge that they understand what you are saying. Offer ideas of their own. So next time when you communicate with another person, make some pauses, make silent moments. You shouldn't be the only one who is speaking all the time. After you speak, make a pause. Maybe that person needs to take some time to understand what you have said or to give his own opinion. That's why while communicating with another person, you need to pay attention to silent moments as well. Do you speak too fast? This is one of the most common communication barriers. A slow rate of speech implies well-chosen words and strengthens the importance of the message you are conveying. Talking to people in an unhurried manner also gives the listener time to absorb what you have said. So speaking too fast can sometimes confuse the other person. It means you need to have a little slower rate in order to strengthen what you are talking about. And yes, the person who is listening to you needs some time to absorb the information that you are trying to give to him. Do you talk with toys? Do you play with pens, scratch your head, tap your fingers, or clear your throat when you are talking with someone? These mannerisms may be unconscious, but they can be quite annoying to others who may take you less seriously. So if you want to look like a good communicator, and of course to sound, you need to stop playing with pens and other things which are around you. Some people play with their fingers or they clear their throat, and these are called mannerisms. Of course, they are unconscious. At that moment, we don't understand them, but also pay attention to these points in order to become a better communicator. Do you make eye contact? When you make eye contact, you are telling someone that you are interested in him or her, that you think the person is important, and that you want to hear what he or she has to say. Yes, while talking to another person, you need to look into that person's eyes in order to get some feedback, in order to understand that if that person understands you or if he or she is interested in what you are talking. Do you avoid overspeak? Aristotle said, "Think as the wise do, but speak as the common do." Don't use big or obscure words. If others look confused every time you open your mouth, you may be guilty of using overspeak, a communication barrier that's sure to send people running to the nearest dictionary. Yes, you might be very knowledgeable. Yes, you can be full of, your vocabulary can be full of some obscure words, big words. It's good that you know those words, but it can make a communication barrier with the person who are you talking to. And that person cannot use the dictionary every time when you're speaking. Try to use a little simpler words, simpler phrases, sentences, if you want the other person to understand you. Do you interrupt? People who cut others off in mid-sentence not only send an unkind message, "I really don't care what you are saying," they also cut themselves out of the communication process. Remember that communication is an exchange, and we learn more from listening than from talking. Yes, it's not good to interrupt the other person, because in that way you stop the communication. You stop the communication process. Because in communication, at least two people are talking. They are exchanging ideas. That's why it's not a good sign to interrupt the other person. Being a good communicator is a natural skill for only a few people. Most of us have to work at it. Yes, some people have got such a talent to be a good communicator, to be a good orator. But this skill can also be got, learned and worked on during your lifetime. Now let's look at these pictures and try to find out what are the problems in communication of these people. Let's look at the first picture. Imagine that she has come into the room and he is asking, "How are you?" But she looks disappointed. Why? Because she thinks that he's not really interested in the question he is asking. Why? Because he is not looking into her eyes. It's very important to have eye contact while communicating with the other person, while speaking to the other person. In the second picture, he's asking, "How was the meeting?" Yes, this time he's looking into her eyes. But at the same time, he's tapping his fingers. In this way, with this mannerism, he can annoy the other person. In the third picture, "I think this is unfathomable." Excuse me? It means that he overspeaks. He is using the words that not everyone can understand. And that person cannot use a dictionary every time. That's why try to use a little bit simple words. The fourth picture. She's going to say something. She said, "I'm going," and he interrupts her and says, "Should we have a meeting?" So interrupting the other person is not good while communicating. What is the next step? Let me think. I'll email you. Here again, the communication process stops because she is going to leave. She is not going to continue their conversation. Now we'll match the words from the text to their definitions. The first word, develop more slowly than others. The word lag behind is used in the text. That's why lag behind means develop more slowly than others. Something made of several parts. The word composite was used there. Composite means something made of several parts. Things that stop something from happening. Barrier. So barrier means the things that stop something from happening. Understand and think about. Imply. Imply has got the meaning of understand and think about. Behaviors. Mannerism was used in the text. So mannerism means behaviors. Not known to many people. Obscure. So the meaning of the word obscure is not known to many people. Now let's look at the statements and try to find the other sentence with the same meaning. If that sounds like you, you are not alone. A. There are many people who are similar to you. If you talk a certain way, people will leave you. So variant A is correct. If that sounds like you, you are not alone. If you say you are not alone, it means that there are many people like you. The single biggest reason people fail to advance in their careers is lack of good communication skills. If people are not successful at work, it is often because they don't have good communication skills. Everyone who advances in their careers has very good communication skills. So let's look at the sentence again. The single biggest reason people fail to advance. That's why variant A. If people are not successful at work, it is often because they don't have good communication skills. We learn more from listening than from talking. Being a good listener can benefit you more than being a good speaker. People who learn to listen also learn to talk. So we learn more from listening than from talking. It means being a good listener can benefit you more than being a good speaker. Most of us have to work at it. Most of us have to work at it. Most people must have good communication skills if they want a good job. Most people have to practice to have good communication skills. So if you have to work at it, it means you need to practice. You have to practice to have good communication skills. Now it's your turn to answer. Have you ever had a misunderstanding with someone because of a communication problem? Give examples. Which of your communication skills do you think you could improve? What are some communication problems other than the ones mentioned in the reading?